The most rewarding thing is one is I thoroughly enjoy it. The camaraderie with the folks I ride with and getting connected with more people.
Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Weta L. Brown. I inspire and promote movement. I explain how running adds to life from a mental wholeness aspect, how obstacles can be overcome in life to make it to your finish line. Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy. Today I welcome one of my epic life crew. If you remember Fanon and Leon that I had last year around this time, he is also a part of my ski crew. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He, as a child, played all major sports: baseball, basketball, football. He is an electrical engineer. He lives in the D.C., Maryland area, but is originally from Connecticut. He had his first introductory to casual biking commuting while he had his first introduction to cycling when he was in college. He used to commute. He had a hybrid. He thought 25 miles was a long distance at that time. In 1990, he took cycling a little bit more seriously and did a few multiple sclerosis rides from Richmond to Williamsboro. Then in 1996, he did like a 3-day bike ride. He actually trained. The first time he did it, he just rode, and it was a little overwhelming. But when he did in 1996, the 3-day he trained. He had a goal. All that went away when he bought a motorcycle. But in 2020, during the midst of COVID, during a great bicycle boom, him and a few of our Epic Life friends started cycling just to be social, get out the house, do some things, and social distance. And it became a love, a passion. So welcome him today. We'll go into a little bit more about how COVID, the 2020 bicycle boom, helped morph him into an avid cyclist. Well, thanks for joining me today.
You're very welcome. This is fun. My first podcast.
All right. Hopefully it won't be your last. I have to have you come back.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell me about sports that you participated in as a child.
My first love was baseball.
Really?
And
Okay.
I'm the oldest of two. I have a younger brother. It's funny because I play bass guitar and I'm an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother and I, we get it from our parents. We get it. It's passed down, but we get it the opposite way of most people think. My mom was the athlete. She played field hockey and basketball in high school, and my father played baritone in the band. So we get the music side from him and the athletic side from mom. And because my father wasn't an athlete, I kind of got started late in everything. For example, Little League, most kids start at 9, from 9 to 12. I started when I was 11. Being the oldest, I was the guinea pig.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Youth basketball was 10 to 12. I started when I was 12. And I'm telling you, right, those 2 formative years, I just know I would have been so much better without I lost those. It's all good, though. But my brother turned out to be really, really good. I mean, he even walked on to UConn's basketball, all of them, baseball, basketball, and football. We all played the same three, because tennis and golf, we didn't do those sort of things back then.
So why did you like baseball the most?
Oh, watching the New York Mets. I didn't even
Okay.
look at basketball, or I started watching them. Watched whole games, had a little score sheet. I sit there and keep score because there were no remotes back then, so you watched all 9 innings. You weren't flipping channels.
Okay.
Right, and then basketball came, and then my high school years, I went to a small private school, and I was able to play football, basketball, and baseball and excel. If I went to a public school, I don't know if I would be able to play all three because I'm kind of thin build. But I got my behind crushed playing football in a public school.
So what positions did you play?
Baseball, I played outfield. Loved
Okay.
outfield. Moved on to infield, sometimes playing softball in the last like maybe 10 years or so. I still play.
Okay.
except for this past year because bike riding took over that. So I didn't play this year. I kind of opted out because we were training riding every Saturday. Then for basketball, I was the shooting guard. I got no handles, you know, but I could shoot. And football, I played was it cornerback and wide receiver.
Okay. So both offense and defense.
Yeah, yeah. Our school was small. You know, we didn't have offensive players and defensive players. You played both sides of the line pretty much the whole game if you were good enough.
What would you like better, playing quarterback or wide receiver?
Wide receiver
Why?
because I get the ball thrown to me, make some moves, get a touchdown hopefully. No, cornerback was fun. I mean, actually, I like playing defense too. So I mean, if I only played one or the other, if we had enough people, it wouldn't really matter which one it was.
Okay. So when did you start cycling?
When I was in college, I moved off campus. I needed a way to get back and forth. It was only a couple miles. So that's when I first started cycling, just going back and forth to campus. And I remember a friend of mine, she asked me to do a 25-mile bike ride. And I thought that
Hmm.
was just like, oh my God, 25 miles? Whew, that's a long way. I mean, I went and got Epsom salts. I was preparing to to soak in the tub that night. Yeah, I had no reference of mine, you know.
Uh-huh. What kind of bike did you have?
I had a mongoose, hybrid mongoose. That's when I first started learning about. I didn't even know about road bikes. I just knew about the hybrids were like a combination of a mountain and road.
Hmm.
So that's when I first started riding when I was in school. And then after I moved to Maryland, somewhere around '93, some friends of mine decided to do one of the multiple sclerosis rides from Richmond to Williamsburg, stay the night in Williamsburg, and come back. It was 80 miles each way.
Okay. So how long did it take you guys to do the 80 miles?
Oh, well, me, I was dragging rear because I didn't know that I was going on youthful exuberance and I didn't know I needed to train.
Okay. Yeah, so you just got up and said,
So,
yeah, I'm riding 80 miles.
yeah, yeah, I was riding a little bit, but I wasn't training. As you know, it's a
Uh-huh.
big difference. And so that first day we started in Richmond and it like rained half the day. I was miserable. And somewhere along there, I strained a tendon like in my knee. So the next day I could do about 20 miles. And I have to admit, man, they had to throw me in the sag wagon. I was defeated. And most of our ride, there's like maybe 10 of us, 7 women and like 3 guys. So, you know, my little ego was shattered. Okay. So anyway, you know how they give for those organized rides, they give you a number for your bike and for your helmet, whatever, and your jersey.
Hmm.
Well, my when I got home, I took my jersey and I put it on my refrigerator with magnet, and it sat there for a year until I trained properly and did the same ride the next year, easily completed. Came home, ripped that number off the refrigerator, mission accomplished. That was my
Your
motivation. I
motivation.
saw it every day. Every day it was on there. That was my motivation to get out there and do what I needed to do.
So how did you train at that time? How did you train for that?
I lived in Virginia at the time, and I was about a mile, if that far, from one of the trails. And I would jump on that trail. I would go west towards Reston, Virginia, towards like Dulles Airport, or I would go east and go into DC, down past National Airport, down Mount Vernon. And I just rode. I didn't have like a regimen. I got to do 20 this day and 30 this day.
Hmm.
I just rode. I just know I needed some time in the saddle. And that was pretty much it.
Okay.
And I did that ride with that group for like 2 or 3 years. And then a buddy of mine, him and I did the ride in '96. When we did that ride, when we got back, it was the same ride, Richmond to Williamsburg and back. When we got back, I saw something about the age ride. And at this point, I was really into cycling. It's like, oh, we need to do this again, do the age ride next year. And that was going to be from Raleigh, North Carolina to Washington, D.C. 4 days, 365 miles. And I had a couple buddies and we trained. I would do, and plus they help you with your training. I would do a minimum. Here's where I finally put some metrics to it. I did like a minimum 50 miles a day on Saturday and Sunday for like 7 weeks. And then during the week, I would sneak 2 rides in. Initially, it was like a quick 15 miles after work, and then it turned into 30 miles after work. So it was like at least 50 on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and then 15 and then 30 during the week.
So about 4 days a week.
Yeah. So about maybe 2 weeks beforehand, we did a ride of 70 miles on one day, or 80 on one day, 70 the next day. And when I did that 80, I was really concerned. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna do this ride. I was done. I could barely get back to my car. I drove home and sat on my couch. I grabbed like a towel, threw it on my couch, and just sat there for like a couple hours before I could even to go take a shower. But got the next day, I got it the next
Hmm.
day, and my body felt good. And so I went out there and I knocked out the 75-mile ride, no problem. My buddy and I, we went to a cookout after that. So that right there let me know that my body was going to recover. I did that every day, and then day of the weekend of the ride, first day was insane. It was 112 miles. I think when I got to about 90, all I had in my head was, I'm not getting sagged. I'm not getting sagged. I'm not getting
Not again.
sagged. I went by like one rest stop because like, no, I can't wait. I can't take any time. I'll do the tortoise thing, but I got to keep moving. And I probably beat the sag wagon by about 20, 25 minutes. It was getting dark when I got into the camp because, they had tents for us. Luckily, my tent mate was part of crew because there were like 1,400 riders and maybe 400 people on crew. And so my tent mate was crew. So luckily he built my tent for us before I got there because I just would have grabbed my sleeping bag and slept under the stars that night. I had no energy, because they brought our luggage, by truck. But even walking from the truck back, the tent grounds was like I'd stopped, had dinner, and just like, okay, I'm glad this is here. I was in my sleeping bag at like 9:30. I felt okay because I knew the way I recovered from before the other ride. And so the next day was 65 miles. Man, I blazed that. I was in camp, next camp at 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
And then the last 2 days were about 80, 85 each day. And I won't say it was a piece of cake, but it wasn't bad. It was good.
Because you trained for it.
Right. Because I trained. Lesson learned.
So that was in 96, you said?
97. And my riding after that, I did a matter of fact, black ski. I just met a whole bunch of folks. So I just joined NBS that same year. And I was hanging out with the folks, Black Ski, the DC club, and they did a few bike rides. I did some with them and then a few more 98, 99, but nothing to the extent of the age ride. And then in 2001, I bought a motorcycle
Oh,
and
really? I didn't know you had a motorcycle.
I didn't get on a bike for 18 years. I go to my garage and I was like, did I want to do this or do I want to pedal? And this took over.
So the motorcycle beat the bike.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It wasn't even close. One, it was something new. I had met a whole bunch of new people, met all these riders, folks, friends of mine I didn't even know either thought about riding or already had ridden. So a couple guys got bikes after I got mine. So it turned into a way of life. And that went on for a while. But then everyone I started riding with, the crew started dissipating, like most crews. I call it the sniper started picking them off, the marriage snipe.
What? You couldn't motorcycle after you got married or whatever?
A couple of them, no. The missus was like, no, I don't want you to do that. Especially if they started having kids. So they were like, no, motorcycle's done. And just life changes. People are like, oh, I'm just kind of tired of this. So my crew was down to like one person, and the last 2 or 3 years prior to COVID, I might have ridden 3 times. And I'm like, I need to sell this thing, get it out of my garage, get it off my insurance. And then COVID came, and and I'm in the gym. I work at home, so I would go to LA Fitness like 3 days a week at lunchtime. I don't have to worry about the morning crowd, evening crowd. I go in and knock out my workouts. And then COVID hit, gyms are closed. What am I going to do? And I hate running, absolutely hate it with a passion. But I need to do
Really?
something.
Don't say that too loud. You know.
I know what I'm talking to. So I started running. I had to maintain some cardio and some strength training. Yeah, and so my from my house to the front of my subdivision is 4/10 of a mile. The first day I ran, I got those 4/10, and I was like, "Oh man, I got to walk now." But I stayed with it because then I need goals. So my goal was I wanted to do a 5K in the next couple of months, and so was that 3.1 miles. So I got up to two and a
So
half.
when did it start? Like in March of
Yeah,
2020?
yeah. COVID started shut down March 13th. Probably 2 weeks later, I started running. And I wasn't doing it every day, but I was building up. My endurance was getting better and better. And I think I got to up to 2.5 miles without stopping or walking. And the couple days later, one of our ski friends, because after the Japan trip in 2018, we created a WhatsApp group in the DC area called Epic Fam DMV. Because at that time, Tariq had just moved to DMV, Gwen George, Gina Davis. So it was a way for them to connect with us because we didn't know them. I knew Tariq, but the others I hadn't met before Japan. So we started that. And then one of the guys was in there, Dubois Ford. One day he put in the group chat, it's like, hey, I'm doing a 10-mile bike ride. Who wants to go? And at that point, we had been sheltered in place for like 2 months. I had seen one person during that time. So I went out, I didn't have a bike. I went out there to say hello to people because I hadn't seen anybody. And I think 10
So
people.
you didn't have a bike. You just said, "Hey, I'm just
No,
gonna just join them."
I just went out there to say hello. I needed some camaraderie just for 5-10 minutes. And they did a very leisurely 10 miles, I think maybe 10 people. And then after that ride, it's like, oh, let's do this again next week. So I borrowed a buddy's bike next week, and we planned to do like 16 miles. We started at National Harbor and went up to National Airport, which is about 8 miles each way.
So what kind of bike did you have?
It was a hybrid. And then I found out, Cree, right? Cree
Mm-hmm.
Williams? Yeah, she had found a company. It wasn't even a company because, most bikes you rent, they want 20, 30, $40 a day. She found a company in DC called Bikes DC. They're right downtown near the mall. And they basically rent bikes, scooters, segways to tourists. And because of the pandemic, they cut their prices down. They were renting hybrid Cannondale hybrids for $135 a month compared
Oh,
to
really?
30 or 40 today. Yeah, so Cree, Gwen, myself, we all snatched up those hybrids, and I just kept it every month because I actually got laid off right after the pandemic started. So I was kind of save some money. And so that was right in the budget. That was in the budget. I can do that, maintain. And that whole riding thing became a coping mechanism for everybody, because there was nothing else to do.
Because y'all could get together, be outside.
Right, exactly. Everyone felt comfortable riding with each other outside. And we would stop somewhere because Cree mapped out everything. We would ride 10, 15 miles, stop, have lunch somewhere, grab some food, sit out in the park, and do the rest of the ride. But slowly but surely, the rides kept getting longer and longer, probably 15 and 20, then 30. And I think we actually did a 55 to 60-mile ride one day. Now, mind you, I'm on a hybrid, no big deal. But none of us, except for Michelle and Doug Rogers,
Because they've been riding for a while.
yeah, they're on road bikes, they're clipped in.
Did you have a kit and stuff?
Hybrids, gym shorts, and sneakers. Gym shorts, sneakers, hybrids. That was our plan. And then towards the summer, into the summer, fall, because it was a mixture of guys and girls that was riding. We had about maybe 12 to 15 show up every week. All of a sudden, the guys started getting road bikes. And Kareem and I, we were still on our hybrids. And so Kareem and I, we started riding a lot more because he lives about 6 miles from me. So he became my ace riding partner. And so the end of November, I turned that bike in, but I found out that they were selling them if you wanted it.
Oh, they were selling the bikes that they were renting?
Yeah, I just started working at Microsoft. And for half that year, even though I started a month and a half, they were giving us $400 for fitness for me. So the bike was $375. So I went and bought that hybrid, and Microsoft paid for it.
Nice. That's wonderful. I'm glad your
Yeah.
job has something like that.
This year for 2022 is $1,500.
That's great. I need to work for Microsoft, even though I wouldn't know nothing about them. But I like that benefit though.
I'm the IT guy. You're the surgeon.
Benefit because a lot of places don't do that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because it was $1,200 for 2021, so they paid for my gym membership, which I renewed, and then I'll get to this part about the road bike. So Kareem bought a road bike. He got a Giant. A buddy of mine had just bought like was it Pinelli or something like that. So he had a one that he was just sitting there. He said, "Yo, man, why don't you use this?" And so let me back up. On the hybrid, when I bought it, before I bought it, I did get toe straps. That whole clipping in thing was like,
You wasn't ready for the clip in yet.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So let me go back to the age ride. Okay.
Okay.
I was on a hybrid for 365 miles.
Wow.
I didn't know anything about bikes. Yeah, I wasn't clipped in. I did have the toe straps because I heard that would give me more efficiency. But I figured that was safer than going to clip-ins. So anyway, my buddy gave me his bike, and as soon as he gave it to me, I went and changed out the pedals and got toe straps. I knew I was comfortable in those. Then Kareem got his bike; he got clipped in. I'm on the toe strap. Finally, I got a fitting. Even though the bike wasn't for me, it was a little bit bigger because Carl's a little taller, the guy who loaned it to me. They made some adjustments, like pulled like some of the handlebars back, where the
Yeah, the best they could.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. I couldn't find shoes. So I remember one day I was riding with my friend Val, and Val's done like 13 Seagull Centuries. Okay. So, of course, she was dropping me like a bad habit. And then while we were riding, I could see her in the distance. This lady came up behind me and passed me. And she got to Val, and they started talking. And it was the same folks that did my fitting. It was a husband and wife team, Chris and Teresa. They used to own Bike Doctor. They used to own Bike Doctor in Waldorf. They sold it and decided they just do professional fittings. Chris is awesome. Her husband is the bomb. And I think all of Getting It In, that group in DC, I think all of them go to Chris. Okay. So she saw me. She's like, "Where are your shoes? You need to get clipped in." I said, "I can't find them." Because back finding a bike, finding shoes was hard back then.
Yeah, because everybody was biking.
Right. She said, "Well, we have some. Come by the shop." I took the bike by the shop. Chris got me adjusted, retrofitted again, got clipped in. I practiced, while we had it on the stationary. Man, I got home for 45 minutes. I live on a cul-de-sac. So 45 minutes. I rode up and down my cul-de-sac, clipping in, clipping out, clipping in, clipping out. Then I started creating real world scenarios like, oh shoot, here's a car, clip out quick.
Okay.
I started doing emergency clip outs, 1 foot, left
Okay.
foot, right foot, left foot, or I would clip out, or light change, let me just clip back in while I'm still moving. Almost every possible scenario I could think of, I started doing that. And to this day,
Knock
I
on
have
wood.
not fallen.
You haven't fallen on your bike at all? Or...
I have not clipped in. I have not fallen. It came close one time. I went Kareem and my friend Val and her friend Amy, and I have cleat covers because I have the SPD SL cleats.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's SPD, SPD SL, Delta Looks, and I think something called Speed Play. So SPD SL, yeah, SPD SL looks like the Delta Looks. It's kind of a triangle type thing. And I have cleat covers for them. So if I, stop somewhere long enough, I can walk around, kind of like, ski boot covers.
Yeah.
We get ready to ride one day. I clip it on my right foot. I go to clip it on my left. I'm like, I can't get in. And I look
She had your
down,
cover on.
the cover is on. And when I look down, my weight started going to the right. No, started going to the right.
No.
Wait, it took everything I could to keep my upper body going left while my lower body was going right. And I did an emergency clip out, got my foot down.
And you didn't fall. What's good?
Because they heard all that noise behind them. They all stopped and would look like, "What's the problem?" And they're like, "You almost went." I said, "Almost don't count." I got my foot down.
It don't matter.
And to this
It
day,
don't matter.
I know,
You're
but
good. Because I've fallen once, clip related. I've fallen other times, but clip related once when I changed clips, and it depends on the clip. It's different how you get in and out. And anyway, I just got them, and I was riding to a class, the trainer class. And when I couldn't get out, but it was like the crack of dawn. No one saw me. I got up, and then when I went to the class, I just practiced when I was on the trainer, and I figured it out. It was a little different mechanic. So, but that's the only time I've fallen clipping wise. But I've fallen otherwise.
yeah, I'm still 0-0 because one of the guys, DJ, I don't think you've met him. He's been on a few ski trips, but he rides with us. He got clipped in, and he came in our group chat and said these things are evil, and he said, if we're keeping score, he said DJ 0, clip-ins 2. Okay. So after I took a few rides, like of more than like 15 miles, clipped in, having to clip in, clip out, I went on a group chat. I said, Carson 0, clip in 0. I said, my goal is to keep the score tied as long as possible. Because I know one of these days is going to happen, but not yet.
No, it might not. I mean, I'm saying you might fall for other reasons, which is usually me. But it's weird. Last time I fell, the only time I fallen hard, I don't even recall clipping in and out. I just remember hitting the sidewalk. I don't remember the mechanism because I thought I would hurt my leg, but I wound up hurting my arm when I hit the ground. But I don't even know how I got it. I don't recall. Maybe because I'm so I automatically do it. Even if I think I'm gonna stop, I just clip out one leg.
Right, exactly.
It's like a reflex.
Have you met Ron Aarons? He was the beard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So last year, he's on even when he got his road bike, because he's one of the first guys to get a road bike, he's like, oh, hell no, I'm not clipping in. So he had toe straps also. And our first ride of 2021, Ron shows up, he's clipped in because he started riding with GII, and you can't be with GII and not be clipped in. Getting it in, yeah. They're serious riders. So you can't be with them and not be clipped in. So he showed up and he said what he did when he decided to do it, he would ride behind Michelle and he just watched her, when she clipped out, when she clipped back in, that whole thing. He just, he studied her movement. He clipped in and yeah, and then the rest of us started doing it too. So I think Kareem went first, and the day he did it, he rode around. We met at a park. He just rode out in and outside the park till we got started because that day Ron forgot his shoes, so he had to go back home and get them. So we just waited for him, and Kareem practiced. And then once we got out there, it was a game changer, And then the kits started coming,
Yeah, I got rid of the shorts.
Got rid of the shorts, yeah, because we want to spend more time in the saddle. Because
yeah, you need some cushion. You need some padding down there.
Some cushion on the cushion. So someone decided, let's do the Seagull Century. They keep saying it was me. I categorically deny. They keep throwing the blame on me, So when we decided, Kareem and I started riding, and I remember we were probably in the 40, 50-mile range as far as distances. And I just know when I was doing 50, man, I get home and I'm like, man, I'm beat. And I remember one day Kareem was like, yo, we got to do 65 today. So it was Kareem, myself, Ron, and two other people. So we did a ride down from my house. Because a lot of times we started at my house. I'm in Bowie. And we went out towards the bay, south of Annapolis. It was like 21 miles there, 21 back. So we got back. And the other three, they were done. And I got off my bike. And Kareem was like, all right, you ready? And if he didn't say that, I would have been good sitting there after a nice 42 miles.
He's like, y'all got to train for this century.
Yeah. He's like, let's go. I was like, all right. So that day we got a metric century in. We did 65. And we felt good. And then next, we started amping it up. But then, the Seagull is flat, but you got those heads and crosswinds. And so I had to get my mind right about that. So 2 weeks before the ride, I went down into D.C. Are you familiar with Haynes Point? Mm. It's like a little peninsula in D.C. area, but it's flat. It's like, you go down it's like a 3-mile loop, or you go take a longer route and go past the MLK Memorial. It's 5 miles. And so that was my training regimen that Saturday. Gwen popped out. She did 15 miles with me, but I ended up doing 65 that day.
Train you for the wind because it's real windy and flat?
Yeah, it's wind because one side you got a tailwind. You make a 180-degree turn, a big U-turn coming up the other way, or it's a hairpin, whatever. And that headwind smacks you. I mean, you could be doing 19, 20 flying down one side. Now you're doing 12, okay? Mm-hmm. And I said, I want to get used to that. And I knew the rest stops were like every 20 miles for the Seagull. So what I did was where I parked at 20 miles, I stopped at my car and treated it as a rest stop, as if I was on a route, because I was just doing loops. And then get out there, do another 20, came back. And so the following Saturday, Kareem and Ron met me down there. Michelle came out, but she only could do like 25. And some of the other folks that were part of our crew when we initially started that fell off when the world kind of opened back up a little bit.
They were like, yeah, I'm not going to do this bike thing. Okay.
Yeah. A few of them came out. They did like 15 miles with us, but it was so funny because Kareem was there. He beat me there. Then Ron got there and another guy came out. And so we were sitting there talking and Michelle rolled up and she's like, wow, I feel like the proud mama. Look at y'all. Y'all got these fancy, expensive bikes. Mm-hmm. Y'all all kitted out. Y'all all clipped in. She's like, my boys have grown up,
Season 3, we will continue the new segment called Ask the Doc. If you have any questions related to musculoskeletal injuries or musculoskeletal health, go to my website, www.weoulifewelove.com. Click on the tab Voicemail, leave your voicemail, and select messages will be aired and answered on the segment. Now, back to the show. So, if it wasn't for COVID, you think you would be cycling now like you are?
Nope,
No?
nope, not at all. It wasn't even only because Dubois said, "Let's go for a ride." I mean, Kareem put it this way: Kareem had his hybrid before we got our road bikes. We were still pushing the hybrids a little bit, and we did 20 miles one day, and we did like an hour and 15 minutes. And he made a comment. He's like, "Yeah, this was great because I remember doing 20 miles in my neighborhood by myself, and it took me 2.5 hours." So it caused a lot of us to be turned, like a lot of people turn into riders. And I'm sure I wouldn't have done it if COVID never hit. Maybe it would have picked up, but not to the level where we're knocking out 100-mile rides. And I have some friends in Massachusetts. There's a ride up there they did last year called the Pan Mass Challenge. It's like to raise money for cancer. I can't remember the name of the organization right now. So I just signed up 2 weeks ago to do that with them, August 6th and 7th. So it's going to be 80 miles each day. And then Kareem just texted a group about doing One Love in September.
Yeah, you got to come to One Love. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Y'all got to do some hill training for that before y'all do that.
Oh yeah. Well, see, that's the good thing. We park right near my house. It's rolling hills.
These are more than rolling hills, though. Just be prepared. There are a lot of false flats. It's like you riding and you're like, why am I going slow? And then you realize you're on a hill.
If you stop pedaling, you'll come to a stop.
and then it's hot.
Yeah. Well, Kareem and I decided, we talked today. Yeah.
I'll plan on going too.
I said, Kareem and I talked today, and we were talking about One Love. And he's like, yeah, man, I hear it's hills. He said, I'm okay doing a metric. Okay. I said, all right. Whatever floats your boat, but doing that. And then, we're definitely going to do the Seagull again.
All right. I might come back to the Seagull.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
They were saying that the cycling boom of 220, like 1 in 10 Americans either started back riding, they hadn't ridden a bike in a year or more due to COVID. So it really brought a lot of cyclists out there.
Yeah. And so I sold my motorcycle July of 2020. Now I got a new squad. It's my cycling crew. I thoroughly enjoyed riding with the folks I had, the friends I rode with. It was a good time. Grabbing some lunch or dinner or whatever, was always cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, with the crew dissipating, like what was next? And cycling just kind of like I just traded my 2 wheels for 2 wheels, which is healthier and hopefully safer.
So what do you find to be the most rewarding aspect of cycling?
It's a camaraderie. I mean, I think like Kareem and I, we're like 15 years apart, but we've become like, that's like my brother now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Kareem is 43. I'm 58.
Okay.
Yeah. I know I don't look it in the baby face, and I guess I cut all my hair off, got rid of all the facial hair, I think the most rewarding thing is I thoroughly enjoy it. The camaraderie with the folks I ride with and getting connected with more people. Like, for example, the Getting It In crew, they're doing during the off season, they do invited bike clubs to come go bowling. So we'll be bowling tomorrow night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I met some other, I went 1 week because I've been pretty much in Connecticut this whole time. So I went 2 weeks ago when I was home, and right off the bat, met some new people. Of course, it's all riders. So we're building up that camaraderie because, a lot of times you get on the bikes, you really have a chance to really talk and meet people. You got the A team out there and, they're blazing. They ain't trying to like chit chat,
No.
So I think this bowling thing is a good camaraderie. I'm glad I was telling somebody the other day, I can check my ego at the door because I did a ride with Getting It In about December. I think it was like early December. And I remember there's a group of young ladies, about 6 or 7 of them, that went by me twice talking about train on your left, and they just blew by me like I was standing still almost, but I was cool with that. I've been on a road bike for less than a year. Some of them have been riding 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And that doesn't bother me. I do what I can. But
Yeah.
it's getting good because I've gotten better, I've gotten stronger. I track my stats all the time. And sometimes, 'cause I remember one day Kareem asked me, he goes, "Do you push yourself when we're not together?" I said, "Absolutely. I got goals. I try to do exactly what we do as if you were here. I don't go out and
Hmm.
just leisurely ride anymore. It's just like, okay, I'm getting it in." So
You never do a leisure ride?
I only way I do a leisurely ride if I'm riding with somebody that's not where I am. Like, how
Okay.
people said, "Yo, I want to do a ride, but I'm not where you are." I said, "No, I'll ride with you." Those days I'll do a leisurely ride. It's like on the mountain. You have sometimes you wanna spend some time with somebody that's not on your ski level, so you kind of ratchet it down a little bit. But when you get with the crew that is gonna like make you raise the level of your game, you're like, okay, let's go.
Okay. All right. All right. So do you usually you ride by yourself and you ride with like say Kareem and you ride with getting it in? Am I saying it correctly? The group.
Yeah, yeah. We try the folks that are part of our Epic crew. We try to get
Hmm.
together, as much as possible. Because Ron, he's a little bit stronger rider than I am, but we can try to stay together. And DJ and Michelle, so we all try to get together when we can,
Okay.
and that's why we all get together for the Seagull Century.
Do you ride with other groups as well, other than getting it in? And
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's another group called AVS, Always Visualize Success. They're a new group.
okay.
They've done a couple rides, but they were pretty much no drop rides because I guess their mantra is they're not only just riding, they're promoting black businesses because there's a black business, PJ's Coffee House, that just opened up in the last couple of years. So their impetus was like, oh, we're going to meet there and we're going to support this coffee house. And they have beignets as well. So that's always a nice little thing after a ride. Hot chocolate and beignets.
And they like New Orleans beignets?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Just like
Okay.
Cafe Du Monde.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I posted something. I said, I did a ride with GII. The temperature when we started was about 40 degrees. And
Okay.
prior to that, Kareem and I were talking, and like every other package that came from Amazon had warm weather bike gear. I got long pants, I got socks, I bought gloves, a jacket. So when I did that ride, I was like, yeah, this truly has become a lifestyle because we're out here in this cold weather. But I think it's also the camaraderie. That day ABS did their first ride, they had about 80 people out there, and it was a no drop ride. So you were chatting with folks and everything. So it was pretty cool. But it turned into a drop ride the last 3 or 4 miles because then people were like, okay, I'm ready to go
Yeah.
now.
Everybody went the last minute. Yeah. Yeah. Like you gonna make it back. You good?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
You
let
know
me
where
go
we
on.
are. You
Yeah.
know where we are.
Yeah. I know how those rides are. Yeah. You know how to get back. Yeah. You got our
Yeah,
number if something
exactly.
happens.
Right, right. And what's so funny? So the people I trained with for the Seagull Century, I rode with them all of like the first 3 miles of the ride. When we got started, DJ and Michelle, they were doing the metric. So they broke off after
Yeah.
the first 3 or 4 miles anyway on a different route. And we couldn't find Ron when we started.
Ron was doing his own thing. Every time I saw him, I'm like, "Where's Eric and Kareem? Like they coming?"
Other guy, Chris, was out there with us. He was doing the Century. And within like 5 mile 5, he just kind of like took off. And Kareem followed him. I'm like, where y'all going? We got 95 miles to go. Pace yourself. So I didn't see Chris no more till I got to the car at the end of the ride. I caught up with Ron and Kareem at some of the rest stops. And then Kareem had a flat tire at about mile 72.
Oh,
And we fixed it because I learned my lesson. I had a flat, and then I went on YouTube, figured out how to fix a flat. Yeah. And then he hadn't done that. So pretty much I fixed his tire. And then he got on, and then he was behind me. Next I know, I thought he was right behind me. He called me. I guess there was a metal sliver in the tire, and it punctured it again. And unfortunately, he could have finished the ride, but he got sagged. But I know he could have finished the ride because we've been training. I knew what he could do. I felt worse than he did. He's like, man, I know I could have done it. I said, I know, but this was like our thing. Yeah, you were my main riding partner. We had to get this together.
was that the most challenging ride you ever did?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. But going back to my 93 mantra where I put my number on my refrigerator, I got to train. And that's what we did. I felt good when I got done. I mean, I know my average speed for the whole day was like 15.3 miles an hour. So I was good with that. Now next year it's going to be a little higher, 16, 17, hopefully.
Okay. So what's your on your bucket list as far as cycling?
Europe. because a lot of folks go over there and do rides throughout Italy and stuff like that. So now we're ready to take our show on the road. Like, so that's why I signed to do the Pan Mass Challenge in August. Like I said, we were chatting today to what's a game plan for One Love. So when it come down there and hit that too, it's a lifestyle now. And plus, I'm still getting my gym time in. Not so much at LA Fitness, but one of my buddies, he started riding with us until he's like, y'all above my pay grade. But he pretty much has a full service gym in his house, minus some leg equipment. So him and I work out once a week. And working out with somebody is a game changer. That holds you accountable. That's been really great working out with him this past little over a year now.
Okay.
So able to maintain my strength. I'm definitely getting my cardio in. I could definitely feel that I've even trimmed down a little bit from all the riding. Like I said, I started traveling, hit other spots in here. Met some friends, some of my coworkers I just met live up in the Jersey area. And so one of them, he wants to do a ride from like Philly down to Atlantic City or something like that. So now it's just going to spread the wealth because I'm still going to try to play softball because,
You stop running?
oh yeah, the day Dubois said, let's do a 10-mile bike ride, and I rode the following weekend, I haven't run since.
Okay. All right. Do you have a trainer?
I don't. So what I've done, because like now LA Fitness is about 4 miles from my house when I'm in Bowie, and it's like 10 minutes from my mom's house here in Connecticut. And so I would do spin classes, but I got to a point like I hate doing this cardio with a mask on. So what I decided, I would go to the spin room when they don't have a class and just go way to the back, take my mask off, and I don't need an instructor to push me. I know what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. So like one of my regimens, I would set the resistance at a certain number and keep a cadence of 80, and then do it for 5 minutes. Then I increase the resistance and I get out the saddle for 5 minutes. And then I'll come back and I'll go 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, for anywhere from 50 minutes up to an hour.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of monitoring, my cadence at a certain resistance. So then I'll raise that resistance and try to keep the same cadence as I go on. But as I started to climb, got out the saddle, I would increase the resistance by 1 each time to make it a little tougher.
Okay. First we stopped doing organized riding and we started back, but I wasn't comfortable being around people. So I wore a mask riding, and because we be on each other, because you be pacing line, and no one else wore a mask. So I was like, I wore my good mask. And then I had COVID in March, so I was like, am I out of shape? Am I out of breath? Or is it the mask? It was a whole bunch, but I'm just happy to be outside, so I was like, deal with it. So,
yeah.
But it was hard to breathe. And those rides are hard, so you be booking trying to not get dropped, basically.
Well, you know what? Like I said, since I'm a fairly new rider, I'm okay getting dropped, because it's part of the process, part of the growing pains.
It's true, but you try not to. I mean, you hold the wheel as
Right.
long as
You
you
try not
can.
to. For example, even though I didn't see my crew during the Seagull, I think after the first rest stop, I caught some of the getting it in crew because they brought like about 125 people out there. They had a squad. So I found some of them and I hooked up with one group and I think I rode pace line with them all the way to the next rest stop. And it just felt good.
You make a lot of friends in
Yes.
organized ride, because I don't usually ride with people. I like to go my pace, and then I don't, and then they have rest stops and SAG, so it's like everybody gonna be okay. So
Right. Exactly. And the thing is, Ryan with getting it in, they some of those folks are gone, but yeah, everyone's not on that same level. They got A riders, they got B riders, they got C riders.
yeah.
And what was crazy is I don't know if you know, but there's a couple of those folks that did that 100 miles in 4 hours. So them Bambas were averaging 25 miles an hour. I'm just like, phew.
Yeah, that wasn't me, but I didn't train for that ride. So I was supposed to do the metric.
Right, exactly. I was telling someone about you the other day. I said, yeah, I was talking about my podcast and who I was doing the podcast with. I said, yeah, she's a badass because she came out to do 65 miles, and next thing I know, she's doing 100.
And I'm like, how did I get talked into this? It was good, but it kicked my butt. But I don't know. I enjoy a challenge, I guess. But
Yeah. Well, that's what it was we decided to do the Seagull, it became a challenge. It's like, okay, now let's prep for this. And most of the time I rode with Kareem or the crew, but there were times like, I just rode by myself because I just wanted to get it in. And I got to a point it was so bad, when I was up here in Connecticut for the last few weeks, I went home 2 weeks ago to back to Maryland, and I checked the weather because I wanted to get a ride in that weekend. But that Saturday, it was going to be a high of 27 degrees. I was like, oh, hell no. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I don't need to do that. So Friday, my company, we have every other Friday, we get a half day. They tell us to unplug at 1 o'clock. And I checked the weather from like 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It was about 46 degrees. I'm like, okay, I've done 40-degree temperatures. I got the gear for it. And I snuck in a quick 20-mile ride, Friday afternoon, because Saturday was a no, was not going to happen.
No, you would no. That's too cold. I think the coldest I've ridden is high 30s, low 40s, maybe.
See, if it's high 30s when we start, I'm good. But anything below that, I'll tap out.
Can you tell me about an obstacle, whether it be cycling or anything else that you've had to overcome?
I think what was really weird about 10 years ago, I had this rare blood disorder called TTP. If you know what that means, I can't pronounce it. And I don't know why it happened. And they treated it with plasmapheresis. But the thing about it, it didn't knock me down because even when I was getting outpatient treatment, I could still do everything I normally did.
Hmm.
I just couldn't travel. I'm doing my band, I'm doing my gigs, I'm working out, I'm doing everything I normally could. And then one day they put me on prednisone, and over the next 3 months, because prednisone, they got to wean you off. They kept dropping the dosage like every couple of weeks, and then when they stopped it, well, the whole time they dropped the dosage, my platelet count stayed normal. Then they stopped it, and that was 2011, and I've been pretty much fine ever since. No issues at all. So that wasn't a major obstacle, and I've been fortunate not to have any major injuries or anything like that that prevents me from doing whatever I've wanted to do. So in that regards, I'm fortunate. And a lot of it's just like it was a mental challenge, deciding to do 40 and 50 and 60. And once you knock it out, and you realize you didn't die, it's like, oh, okay, I can do this again. So yeah, so I can't really say that I had some challenge or obstacle that I overcame, especially on the athletic front. Pretty much I've been able to do everything I wanted to do. I've never had any major injuries. Sprained ankle here,
Hmm.
a crooked pinky here, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the extent of it. So I can't really pinpoint anything as far as a major obstacle. At least not in my sporting life.
Okay. Would you ever consider crit racing on cycle? You ever see the guys? It's like they ride that's a closed loop, like in a circle, and they race. They crash a lot. Have you ever seen one of those races before? Criterium.
Like in the velodrome or whatever, something like that.
These are outside, but it's kind of similar as far as it's like a circle, and some are longer distance than others. Like the shorter, like non-pro races are like 20 minutes, and they can be up to an hour. The pros,
Hmm.
but they ride around in a loop, and it's a pack of people. So it's like you're in a pace line, and all these people are around you. They get a lot of crashes, but it's interesting to see. I've done it a few times. I suck at it, but it's fun because you ride fast. It's fun,
Right,
but
right,
it
right,
can
right,
be
right,
a
right.
little because you have people like right on you.
Yeah, I think that might be something I might look forward to in a couple years as I get my speed up. Because it's no fun if they're going to drop me right off the bat, within the first
Well,
mile.
no, see, you set separate goal. Like when I do it, I just do it. It's good training, and it helps you like with speed and endurance because you have to basically ride fast for 20 minutes. But it's a strategy to win. But like my goal is not to win. It's usually like to hang with the pack, and then if I get
Right,
dropped, it's not to get lapped. So I mean, it's things that you can work on
right, right, right,
while
right,
you're
right.
trying to get up to there. So, but it does, and just trying to even hold a wheel.
Yeah, like I said, when I started running, that first time out was like, whew, this is crazy. But then once I set a goal, it's like, okay, I was building up towards that. So I guess right now I'm gonna keep building my goals as far as my cadence and my speed and endurance, and then that's gonna be my thing right now, and kind of keep up with like catch up to other folks that are stronger riders than I am, or at least try to. That's going to be my goal for going into 22.
So, any last minute words of advice to my listeners in regards to cycling or anything else you want to
Yeah,
share?
I would say if it's something you really want to do, man, find folks. Unless you're good just being by yourself and pushing yourself, finding folks to ride with that have the same passion, it makes it a little easier. It makes it a little more enjoyable. Even though Kareem and I, some days he gets a bug up his behind and he drops me, it's still an enjoyable ride because I try to keep up the best I can. So for those who are looking to get into it, start out slow. If you want to be a daredevil and get clipped in right off the bat, go for it. But pace yourself and find folks that you can pace yourself with. That you can grow with. That's the good thing we did. We all kind of grew together, while we were doing this because of COVID, and then that's why then it got serious and you saw the ones that were serious about it came out and did the Seagull. Because then we had, like I said, I think I told you we had a separate Epic Fam DMV for everybody. Then we separated that to us Epic Fam DMV bike crew because we didn't want to keep blowing up people's regular WhatsApp group. But then when the Seagull came around, we had to create another one called the Seagull Centurions.
And then y'all gonna have to make the One Love one for this
Yeah,
year.
Kareem is definitely down. I believe Ron is. I think a few of us are going to come down here. Oh, and then yesterday, a buddy of mine, he texted me about doing the 5 borough bike ride in New York, and I think it's May 1st.
Some people from Chicago go up there sometimes for it. Last year they went up there for it last
Yeah, I've done it twice. I did it in '89 and I did it in 2000. I threw it in our bike group chat yesterday. Said any interest? And then a couple people, Michelle chimed in, Paul chimed in, and so we might be doing that also. But that's not like a really strong ride because the times we started the first couple miles, there's so many people at the start near Battery Park. So we're considering like I know someone said like yeah, it's gonna be a lot of people in close proximity when you get started. So depending on how COVID is at that time, it may we may not have to do it. So we'll have to see. We're gonna kind of play it by ear and see what it looks like in March, April if we can still register. But if not, it's all good.
So where can people find you if you want to be found?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Where's my phone at? I can't remember my handle.
That's funny.
My phone's acting up. I think my Instagram is eCarson323.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining me again.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. This was cool.
That wraps up this episode of Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you already haven't, please download Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast on Apple, Spotify, or however you listen to your favorite podcast. If you have any questions, concerns, or possible show topics, please email runningischeaperthan.therapy, OLB, Omaha Love Brown. Again, that's runningischeaperthan.therapy, Omaha Love Brown @gmail.com. I also can be reached via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Handle We Life, We Love. OUI Life, OUI Love. Thank you, and please tune in again.